actually brought up just, the power of attorney in general, right? And I know this one has a few moving parts, so just like in a sense, keeping it, as, concise and personal into certain extents, but similar to the fiduciary thing that you talked about earlier, sometimes if you don't want to, select a family member or things like that, you can select others. But yeah, Travis, tell us a little bit more about reasons to have a power of attorney, what that might look like, and circumstances that you've experienced.
Yeah, so power of attorney is the legal document that's going to designate who's going to be your agent for legal and financial decisions. And so, it's a powerful document while you're alive. And it can be effective either immediately. So the day that you sign it, that power that you give to that other person is valid. And so they can go and, conduct business as if they were in your shoes and sign on your behalf. And one of the practical reasons of allowing that to happen is that, say you're traveling, maybe, on the mainland, off island, and you needed something done here in Hawaii, you can have your power of attorney sign on your behalf. You may still have your capacity, but that power of attorney can be used to close, real estate transactions or communicate with the banking official or your investment advisor. Some people choose, maybe if they're, they don't have close family members that they selected, maybe they selected a friend as their power of attorney, but they're not really ready to give that power over to their friend as their power of attorney. They can have it become effective at a future date, which is typically when they've been deemed incapacitated, and then their power comes into being. And so that's kind of one of that's one of the options that someone has available to them, is that only when it's necessary and needed, when I can no longer make those decisions, then my fiduciary, my nominated person can start to act. And in a power of attorney, you can kind of select what types of powers you give to them. Some people give very broad powers. Some people can be very specific as to what kind of limited powers they're able to, if they're granted. And so it's a very powerful tool to be able to have someone act on your behalf if, you're not able to. So the healthcare power of attorney and the financial power of attorney are kind of companions, but they fulfill different roles.
Yeah.
And they can be different people. So you might have someone that can make your medical decisions and that that you trust in that way. But then you can name someone your financial power of attorney that handles those types of things. Typically, it's the same person you nominate as your trustee because they kind of fulfill the same type of role. And when you do have a trust, your power of attorney typically works to move things into your trust. And so that's kind of one of the helpful, useful tools to use your power of attorney.
Yeah, and I feel like this one all of them are super important, I would say, but this one, like, especially with, aging parents, cognitive issues and things like that, like, you would think something simple like, oh, being able to go write a check to pay the utility bill or something like that would be super easy. But if there's a cognitive issue and that person can't sign on their behalf, like, or there's some kind of issue, then, having this power of attorney, it becomes, essential, effectively, or it just becomes such a bear to just do something that would seem so simple like that.
Yeah. Yeah, you're totally right, right? Especially in Hawaii, there's multi-generational living, kids are helping grandparents, grandkids are helping, their grandparents. And as they get older, they can't go down to the bank, right? And communicate with their banker, communicate with their investment advisor. So sometimes they need to send their power of attorney to kind of get these things done for them. And that's, another one of the uses, even, paying their bills and managing their finances. One of the sad things is, there's a rise in elder, financial crimes, right? Sure. People taking advantage of people. There's so many different ways that this can happen. And, a power of attorney can kind of be kind of an overseer and kind of intervene at a appropriate time to kind of prevent kind of financial abuse. And so that's another, one of the benefits of kind of having that key person, in your corner to be able to look out for you.
Yeah, that's so good. Just, thinking about, power of attorneys in general, Jason, quick thoughts before we move on.
No, I like what you're talking about, Travis, about how you can dial it in. I think some people think it's like this blanket, powers for everything, right? I like that you brought that up.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it can be blanket, right? I mean, it can be like, hey, I want it to just be as flexible as possible. I think a majority of people prefer it that way. Right. But yeah, you could dial it in. There's also different types of power of attorney. There's special power of attorney. So I worked with families that, hey, they're going to go on a trip. but they're going to grant power of attorney for a limited period of time. And so, yeah, you can, there's certain different options they have available. And another thing, so when you see the title of your document say durable power of attorney, that durable word basically means that if you become incapacitated, this power of attorney will survive that. So you could lose, you lose your cognitive ability to use, manage your finances. And then it will, your agent still will be able to act on your behalf. So that's, kind of like what Paul had said in terms of what that usefulness is.
Yeah.
The opinions and statements presented on this show are for general information only and are not intended to provide specific advice or recommendations. Never make any investment or financial decisions based on information offered on this show without first consulting your financial, legal, or tax advisor. All economic and performance information mentioned on the show is historical in nature and is not indicative of any future results. All indices mentioned on this show are unmanaged and cannot be invested in directly. All information is believed to be from reliable sources. However, we make no representation as to its completeness or accuracy. Lastly, all opinions expressed by Jason Cutitta and any guests on the show are solely their own opinions and do not reflect the opinions of or are endorsed by ToBA Financial. For Jason Cutitta, investment advisory services are offered through ToBA Financial LLC, a registered investment advisor offering advisory services in the state of Hawaii and in other jurisdictions where exempt from registration.